The Season of Discovery roadmap. It's gonna be amazing.
Gnomrigan Raid, a revamped Stranglethorn Vale for PvP, the Scarlet Monastery being seen as raiding content, and the prospect of a whole new zone, the Karazhan Crypts, finally being used in the World of
Nice.
Warcraft universe. These are just a few of the rumors surrounding the mysterious future phases for Season of Discovery. So far, the phase we've had with the level 25 cap has honestly been one of the best times in WoW I've had in a long time. There's new content, updated classes, new items, quests to find, and just a fresh perspective on the game. It's amazing how much has been done by just restricting our level cap a bit. And the best thing is, we get to do this staggered level cap thing 2 more times in the future as well.
Yep, I'm enjoying this a lot. And when it hits level 60, I think that's going to be the biggest one. It's going to have the biggest amount of changes, the biggest amount of things happening. It's going to be wild, boys.
As we already
I would not even be surprised if level 60 was like split in kind of like parts. You know, like the opening of the gates or something like that.
know, the second phase of Season of Discovery will raise the level cap to 40, Phase 3 50, Phase 4 60, and beyond that is expected to be something akin to our usual phase releases for the remaining raiding content, all the way from Molten Core to Nax Rammus. But that is very far off in the future at the moment, so we'll see what they do. Classic WoW also just got a roadmap for the future of its content, spanning from this winter all the way to next autumn, so we can definitely make use of this when making
Level 40, new runes, new PvP events. I don't like the new runes. Again, I said this before. They're gonna keep adding runes, and that's gonna push people away. Because do you really think new people are gonna try Season of Discovery when they hear that they need to grind 100 runes? Yeah, that's gonna be sus.
estimates as for when future phases will be. But today we are going to be doing a little bit of speculating. When will the next phase be?
The biggest hope that I have, and I think this is gonna be accurate, that when we get the new runes, you know where those runes are gonna go. They're not gonna go in your leg, head, well, gloves, chest, leg slots. No, they're gonna go in different slots. That's gonna be the real kicker, and I want that so much.
How long will phases last? What will the new content be? And ultimately, what happens to our characters at the end of the season? But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Factor 75. It's coming up to gift giving.
If you wanna be stupid, buy Factor 75. It's a cheap ripoff.
To Factor 75 for the sponsor today. Let's get back to WoW. First up then, let's think about Phase 2. So at the moment the level cap is 25 and we're just over 3 weeks into the season and the game is feeling super fresh. This is the phase where either as a casual player you can get to push to level cap and see how endgame goes, or as a more hardcore player you start to set up your alt army with everything you want to play as later phases are released. However, the level cap being 25 is a
Currently setting up my priest. Literally started yesterday, by the way. I don't know, dude. The fact that you play Horde, make a troll, and you need and your not dispersion, but what's the 3 shooty thing called? Yeah, that one. Dude, you need to go on Senjin Village on level 2. That's so stupid.
big decider for how long I think this phase will last in total, as capping out a character, doing some Ashen Veil, doing some BFD and so on, doesn't take all that long.
True, especially when you grow a brain and you figure out that, wait a minute, these reputation farms are useless. Completely useless, in fact. Yeah, I mean, they are. There's no point in doing the PvP event because the reputation is useless. I don't even know if any of the, exalted gear is BIS. I have no idea. But still, I'm not gonna do that for probably one piece of exalted gear. Like, come on. You can get raids that without problems do Black Phantom Deeps now without even pre-BIS, okay? It's crazy.
We said I think this first phase will be somewhere in the region of 6 to 8 weeks in total, and if we were to add about 4 weeks on to where we are at the moment, I'd suggest a mid to late January release for Season of Discovery's second phase. So we're talking around the 18th to the 25th of January, and this does fit in with the timeline on the roadmap too. But what is for the content in Phase 2? We already have had confirmation that Blizzard are planning on a Gnomeregan raid being the next major raid for the Season of Discovery. Gnomeregan itself has definitely seen some newfound infamy thanks to the hardcore mode. It only takes that one guy straying a bit and pulling some trash packs for this place to get super out of control. Can't wait to see that one guy.
Oh man, the hardcore servers, you know what they created? They created fear, okay? When Season of Discovery launched, it's not even a hardcore thing, you know? It's not hardcore, it's not one dead delete, you know? I went to Undercity because my first character was a rogue. When I went to Undercity, I already saw 5 corpses in each elevator shaft. That never happened before hardcore came out, because no one was afraid of the elevator. But now the Undercity elevator is the biggest character deleter in the history of the game. It's crazy. And why? Because, well, it's just infamy that spreads about the elevator being dangerous. So people are afraid to enter it, and it's crazy, dude.
Guy pull all the Dark Iron agents before the last boss in a raid and proceed to wipe you. Gnomeregan may also present some rather unexpected changes in the damage dealing meta for Season of Discovery. See, the raid as a whole has a lot of mechanical and elemental enemies in it, and they tend to be immune to a lot of stuff ranging from bleeds, poisons, frost damage, nature damage, and certain CC effects. I hope it's not super comp dependent in terms of wanting to bring classes which can actually hit stuff. I know in vanilla that's how it is, but it's also seasonal. Maybe we don't have to stick 100% to the original format. In terms of loot from Gnomeregan, there's already been some very exciting updates which have been found on Wowhead, including some of the raid's most iconic items.
Ooh,
the manual crowd pummeler appears to have been upgraded to the automatic crowd pummeler. Instead of it having 3 charges, it's now on use with a 3-minute cooldown. However, only...
Isn't this, by the way, blatantly overpowered for druids? And I mean, druids are already, honestly, blatantly overpowered. It's like the easiest power spike class in the game, I'm pretty much, honestly, at this point. And druids are a must-have class in literally every raid because of their, well, Wind Fury totem. Because no warrior's gonna want to do this without a Wind Fury, right?
Usable by Paladin, Shaman and Druid. Of course, this has been bis forever for Feral Druids. Their attacks don't scale directly from their weapon, but instead from their attack power and auto attacks in form. The real intriguing bit to me, however, though, is that we very well may see a 2-handed enhancement rune next phase, and you'll be able to pop this almost self-bloodlust type effect and blast with this weapon for 30 seconds. It's even got great offensive stats. The weapon speed is a bit of a letdown in terms of seeing big crits, but it should still be good. I'm wondering how they will update drop tables for bosses as well though, because loads of the BFD bosses straight up had a ton of new items instead of old items.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm not gonna lie, by the way, I don't use any add-ons. Well, I do have the Atlas loot add-on, but my Atlas loot add-on doesn't show me Black Phantom Depths drops. So I don't actually know what it drops. All I know is that yesterday I got my Biz Dagger for my rogue, and now I can go Mutilate, which is absolutely amazing, because I was the only rogue in the raid.
Being upgraded. The one item I'd love to see getting an epic upgrade would be the electromagnetic Gigaflex reactivator, the helmet from the last boss that shoots out an AoE which gives you a mini lightning shield afterwards.
You know what I want to see? You know what I really honestly want to see? This is my #1 thing that they should change in Season Discovery. They should just make all cooldowns equivalent to pretty much retail, I'm sure, almost. Well, except, like, you know, paladin shields and whatnot, you know, that can still have, like, a 30-minute cooldown. But everything else, man, I don't want to have these long cooldowns for abilities that are situationally useful and you always try to save for unforeseen circumstance. Let Vanish have a 2-minute cooldown. Let Sprint have a 2-minute cooldown. I mean, everyone's going to be happy about it. It's not going to change the balance of the game because it's, you know, it's just utility skills. But man, having all of your classes, all classes have utility skills on a huge 5, 10, 20 minute cooldowns. Let's scale them down. Let's scale them down to like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, depending on their power. Okay? That would be really, really nice.
This item has so much potential, maybe even tanks would want it if the AoE was good enough. Another thought about Noma is that it's in Dunmora, so the Alliance will not auto-flag for PvP on PvP servers, but Horde will. It's the same experience as what Alliance get when they go to Scarlet Monastery. Is this something that should be changed, do you think, in Season of Discovery in any way? Of course, non-flagging exists in Starter Zone, so you don't get level cap degenerates going to gank lowbies. But when all of a sudden this low-level zone is the end game, maybe that changes things. Maybe the actual Nomagan zone outside of the raid should cause auto-flagging, but outside that, you're good. It's not like Horde are going to have to run all the way to Noma either through Dunmora. There's a quest that sends you to Booty Bay that teleports you straight there. Unlike Alliance, who actually have to run for about 15 minutes from South Shore or through Western Playgrounds to get to Scarlet Monastery. Not like I'm salty about that or
I mean, the Alliance can just eat it, honestly. Lame. You're playing a fantasy game and you're making a human warrior? Oh, you disgust me. Go try to fix your inaccuracies in your real life self, not through being an Alliance human. Pathetic.
anything though. Anyway, speaking of Booty Bay, that brings up our next point, the PvP zone for Phase 2. So Blizzard have mentioned in it.
Considering Stranglethorn Vale is like one of the probably hotspots for leveling at this point, well, at that point in the future, it's gonna be wild. Okay, making that a PvP zone is definitely gonna piss people off.
Interviews that STV is likely to be the place where our next set of open world conflicts will be taking place. I have to say though, on the roadmap it doesn't specifically say STV yet, it just says new PvP event, so the options are still open. But STV itself is without a doubt the most iconic open world PvP zone in World of Warcraft's history. It fits in well with a level cap of 40, and players will be spending a ton of time questing there anyways to hit the new level cap.
Yeah, this bridge is going to be probably infamous.
It has the notorious Gorobashi free-for-all arena, the weekly fishing event, and tons more. To me it's more, why wouldn't you go for STV for the PvP zone? There is an alternative however which kinda does make sense too, and that's for the Arathi Highlands. This zone also fits well with a level cap of 40, has a decent number of quests in there, albeit
does anyone enjoy going to Arathi Highlands, honestly? I think it's my least favorite zone, honestly, to level in. It's kind of dull. It's just an open plain constantly.
most are centered around the elite zone of Strongguard.
And yes, then there's this place, which is just stupid and annoying.
And biggest of all, it fits in thematically with the battleground that should be expected to open next phase, Arathi Basin. And whilst Battle for Ashenvale has had many a problem, if you can say one thing, it's a great way to gain rep and the rewards that are tied to the battleground. And thematically, us doing battle in Ashenvale, the place where Warsong Gulch takes place, totally makes sense that our actions within the zone would award reputation. If we're off PvPing an STV, how does that make sense for us gaining reputation with Arathi Basin? Well, it doesn't really. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do Arathi Basin rep through the battleground by the way, but oh boy is it slow. Then again, it's a seasonal server, it's fine to do stuff faster or just differently from normal. Maybe some NPCs can be put into STV from your Arathi Basin rep, and they can say this is a vital zone of conflict to control, this helps your faction in some way, and therefore you get rep. Maybe. But anyways, this is what I expect for Phase 2. So the Noma raid, STVP...
Yeah, the rep's probably, again, going to be completely useless. I'm not going to grind it. It's going to be replaced by all the first raid run, probably. Oh, it's going to be hilarious. I don't understand people who try to grind the rep. Is there even anything really worth it from the rep rewards? I don't know, Chief.
PvP, new runes, new gear and so on, lots to look forwards to. Duration wise, 25 to 40 is a fair bit of leveling. A lot more time will go into that than 1 to 25. So I'd say an absolute minimum of 8 weeks on this phase with a cap of 12, so call it 10 or so. The level 40 bracket is going to be so much fun to play as well. Getting our final talent points with the runes is really going to push our characters' power levels. So I'm thinking this phase will last around somewhere up to late March to early April. And this fits in with Blizzard's roadmap too. And here is where we start to go a bit into the dark. In Phase 3 of Season of Discovery, the level cap will be raised from 40 to 50, and we will start to push on towards more endgame content, or
Oof,
traditional
this
endgame
place.
content I should say. I do wonder whether they'll tie the Alterac Valley reputations and their various rep rewards into Phase 3 as well, or whether they're going to leave them out. See, the in favour part of that comes from the fact that each phase so far should have had a new battleground introduced, and it would maintain that and give PvPers something new to work towards. The against part is mainly just to do with, well, how AV has worked in the past. Usually you have to be level 51 plus to join an Alterac Valley, and a bunch of the rep rewards, including the mount, all need level 60 to use. And if you remember at BlizzCon, they also teased several images for this season, which back then were Noma, which we know is in Phase 2, as well as the Scarlet Monastery and Karazhan Crypts. Would Scarlet Monastery make for the main raid at this level 50 bracket? I mean, it kind of is near the Alterac Mountains to the point where you could tie the reputation into some open world events, but where would the PvP zone itself go? The Alterac Mountains, perhaps? There really isn't a ton to do there, unlike Ashenvale, or especially...
True! By the way, I have never done quests here. I have never done a single quest here. I don't know what kind of magical quests are there. I think there's one quest where you're supposed to kill a guy here. I once got it. I don't know why. How even. I don't remember it. And there's the Dalaran quest with the elementals and whatnot. But here, I don't even know how to get quests. In all of my time playing Classic or World of Warcraft in general, I have never quested in Alterac and Ruins of Alterac. Like, what is there?
STV. I'm kind of having trouble making sense for what we know about Phase 3 at the moment, and it does feel like an area of this season that I am the most uncertain about. There is another way that this could go though, and that's for this phase to have Black Rock Depths as the main raid, and Black Rock Mountain, Burning Steppes, and Searing Gorge as the combined PvP zones. I don't know about you, but I
don't know how I feel about having this as a raid, by the way. Because the reality is we're already gonna... because if this is a raid, then we're just gonna spend the raid here, and then at a new level cap, we're again gonna go to the exact same place. I mean, I can see it happening, but I feel like that's a little bit of a burnout type of situation here. Because you're spending the raid here, then you're spending the raid, well, pretty much almost in the exact same place. I don't know how I feel about that.
We want to see BRD as a raid. It's practically already big enough to be a raid, and you could put so much cool stuff in there. And BRD fits in...
They could just make a new raid entirely.
Okay with a level cap of 50.
I think you know what we're gonna see as a raid. I forgot what's the name of the place. It's the stupid desert that the Horde use before they run to. It's the outpost. What's it called? It's next to the Burning Steppes, and it's like, you know, the Barrens-ish, you know, not purple, but orange-ish looking desert. It has the elite dragons in there. It has a bunch of hyenas and excavation, and it has that instance there. I forgot what it's called. I think they will make that into a raid, because that place honestly fits perfectly like a raid. So yeah, I think they're gonna make that into a raid.
Some of the bosses in there definitely are higher levels for that, but the alternative would be to have this raid at 60, and level 60 isn't short on content or raids already. I think it would be great to have BRD as its own full phase in Season of Discovery. It's a dungeon with a legacy that absolutely deserves time to shine and to be its real own piece of endgame content. As for the open world PvP, battle for Black Rock Mountain. Maybe some kind of King of the Hill vibe to it where you need to hold certain areas down. The fun in BRM PvP was always...
I'm not gonna lie, the world events PvP vibes are kinda interesting when one side pushes the other side back, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie. If you're melee, the world PvP kinda sucks when it's a giant Zerg, because obviously the range have such an advantage.
Always in outmaneuvering your opponents or sending people on stealth missions to scout and pick off targets. There is so much potential in this mountain, and I hope that we get to experience it in Season of Discovery. The duration of this phase, again factoring in leveling and all the content available, a good 10 to 12 week average sounds okay. maybe even on the short side. This would bring us to around mid-June, which if we look at the roadmap is a little bit early perhaps. I could be overly reading into it, but the 60 cap feels as though it's more angled towards July at the moment, but who knows? Things can always change. Next we have phase 4 and the final push from levels 50 to 60, and the point where we start to do Classic's traditional endgame. Here's a thought, do you reckon we'll return to 40-man raids after having done 10, maybe 20 player?
No, that would, again, one of the things I don't like with Season of Discovery, I have seen guilds with 200 people, 250 people and whatnot, and they're kind of shit. There's no cohesion between players, you know? A lot of people just don't know each other, and that's kind of bad. One of the best things about Classic is the fact that, well, you get a guild and the social aspect of it. And, well, if everything continues going like this, I don't think it's going to be the best thing ever, unless you have found a really good guild. But yeah, I think a lot of people are going to miss out on the social aspect of Classic with the guilds and whatnot, which is kind of sad because that's honestly really good.
Raids throughout the whole season so far. Smaller raid sizes and shorter lockouts are generally more casual friendly. They allow more chances for people on new roles to find a group, and well, I think I can summarize how I feel about 40-man raids in one single picture. So yeah, the prospect of getting 40 players together, very cool once we're in the raid, not so cool on your guild's leadership. I'd be down to try sticking to smaller size raids though. Again, it's seasonal, we can just try stuff.
True, 20-man raid, why not? 20-man Molten Core, sounds actually good even.
And see how it
would make a couple of encounters probably actually harder because of interrupts. Nice.
Feels. In terms of content, of course, for PvP, we would have Alteric Valley making a return. Open world PvP wise, there is already stuff in the game, to be honest. It's just kinda bad. But the potential is there if these events are iterated upon. You've got the Eastern Plagueland Towers, where when a faction holds them, people in the zone and in the strat dungeons gain various bonuses. And then there is Silithus and the Sand Running, where you pick up an item and run it to a guy. The first faction to fill their scoreboard gains bonus reputation in the zone and raids for a while. So yeah, not the most exciting stuff at the moment, but maybe we can get some reputations affected by these events, get some more rewards in there, and just make it a bit more worth players' time. We are all of course looking forwards to the new Kara Crypts raid. As for when it releases, though, that is a tough one. And if the phase before level 60 was centered around Blackrock Mountain, the following one leading us into Molten Core kind of does make sense.
I wonder will they keep at level 60 the reset time of 3 days? I really don't think they're going to do it, because if that happens, man, people are going to burn out real quick.
And after that we have BWL, again that's in the mountain, and then AQ40, which is really its own thing, way out of the way. We do have a link between Karazhan and Naxxramas though, through Medivh and the legendary staff Atiesh. It's not a huge amount to go off, and it would of course mean quite the wait between level 60 and Naxxramas, but it's something. Also, there's no way phase 4 would be the final phase either. There are still so many raids to go through in Classic. If we take a look at Classic's timeline from its re-release in 2019...
You know what's gonna happen in Season of Discovery? They're gonna make it so more people can, you know, do Naxxramas. For example, I still have never done Naxxramas. It is what it is. I just left. I left, you know, midway before even farming all of my, what's it called? Katoon? What's the Katoon raid called? I forgot. I didn't even farm all of my Katoon items. I left before, I left even before that. I think they're gonna do something to make sure that people want to raid, that people get to experience Naxxramas finally. I think for level 60 also, a thing that they could honestly do is just nerf some items for, you know, for example, Naxxramas, and make it like one of the beginning raids. You know, now Ragnaros is no longer the start of raiding at level 60, but it's like the midway point of raiding in level 60, and stuff like that. They can easily swap the order in which you do these things around, and I think that would be good. Because again, if Naxxramas is the last thing, I'm probably gonna quit Classic before Naxxramas. And at this rate, I'm probably never even gonna raid this thing a single time, honestly. It is what it is.
We can see we've got quite a bit of content to do, and we will also already have some stuff that used to come in future phases already. I think the number of phases can be squished quite heavily.
You know what's the most useless thing in the world? This place right here. The 20 man bug raid. There's not enough good loot there. There's not enough reasons to go there. It offers nothing. It's just like, okay, maybe we want to do it because we're bored, but it doesn't really offer you anything useful most of the time.
I think the number of phases can be squished quite heavily here. We will have all the battlegrounds out, I imagine. The honor system's already there. Diamor's been out on every release Blizzard has done post 2019, so I'm pretty sure they're going to do it again, if not before level 60, then at that point. World bosses don't really warrant their own phase, nor does Zul'Gurub in my opinion. We could have those in mini 0.5 phases in Season of Discovery, which really leaves us with just the big new raid tiers dictating phase releases.
Oh, I think they're gonna buff Onyxie. I think they're gonna make Onyxie into a real challenge.
So we would start with Oni and Molten Core in phase 4, and then with Nax on phase 7.
Also, I hope they make Blackwing Lair into actually, a challenging thing. Because let's face it, what's the most challenging thing in Blackwing Lair? Well, it's the stupid, blowy up goblins throwing things at you. That's it. And maybe someone is super greedy with Wing Buffet, and then he gets killed. That's it. That's literally it. So yeah, maybe make Onyxie and Blackwing Lair the end game. Buff the bosses, increase the power of the drops and whatnot. I think that would be cool.
Phase 4 would also be when players are doing that level 50 to 60 push at the start, and that is one big old grind in vanilla. XP wise, it's either being level 46 or 47 is halfway to 60, so players are going to need some time to cap out. This phase seems to be a pretty lengthy one too, lasting from what looks like July all the way into late autumn, which is going to be 3 months or so. So the next phase will be late September, early October. Blackwing Lair will be the next raid to come out, and alongside that at some point in time you need to fit in the various world bosses, so the non-green dragons and the green dragons, as well as ZG. I think some of those can come before BWL, some a little bit after. Give it about 8 to 10 weeks for Phase 5 and BWL, which means Phase 6 and NQ40 would arrive in late November to early December. I kind of doubt they're going to do the war effort on a seasonal server, to be honest. They had it auto-completed for hardcore servers, for example. They do have their own set of difficulties.
Well, hardcore servers are a bit different, I think.
On there, of course, but it just seems as though it's a lot of effort to put people through.
Who put this crate here? Who put this crate? They're gonna fall.
When the server's expected to have an end date. And finally, the re-release of Naxxramas for Phase 7 would come around in early 2025. Of course, around this time, Kara would drop as well, if it already hasn't. Kara Crypts could be a thing that Blizzard hold on to try and get something cool towards the end of Season of Discovery to bring people back. And I do think having something to keep people coming back during the latter parts of the season will matter. Because when we get to 60, it's just back to Molten Core and Onyxia again. I guess we better hope that the classes feel amazing to play.
True, and this is why I'm saying that you need a good guild with decent people, with, a social aspect, because, hey, Molten Core is boring, easy, and annoying. If you have a guild of absolutely stuck-up, boring people, well, congratulations, you're not gonna want to raid this. But with a decent guild, this is fun. Doing stuff like this is fun. Imagine that your Thunder Fury tank, who's still raiding this, is currently on crack and cocaine, and I'm not even joking. Good times, and he's tanking. Good times, fun.
Play, because typically for me the early classic...
Does he sometimes go into the lava because he can't tell what's real anymore? Yes, but that's at least fun.
Raids have been on the weaker side. Then again, Blizzard have done a great job revamping BFD, so maybe they have time for a few tweaks here and there to make some of these early raid encounters just a bit more engaging. Not difficult content or anything, people have shown us time and again that's not why they're playing Classic, but just a few changes where at least you need to be paying a little bit of attention. But give it 12 to 16 weeks or so for the final phase and it will probably be time to wrap up Season of Discovery.
You know what's my dark theory for Season of Discovery? It's that Blizzard is gonna slowly try to make Season of Discovery intentionally more and more, at least character-wise, to retail. So people start liking retail more and want to play it after Season of Discovery. That's my dark thesis, okay? That they're gonna change skills. And by the way, I'm completely down with that. Again, I said this before. I am 100% all hands up for nerfing, for example, rogue damage by 30% blatantly on the dot, and just giving more energy regeneration. So my DPS rotation involves something other than keeping Sinister Strike up. I would happily give up my 30% of my front end loaded damage just so I can actually use combo points for something other than slice and dice. It's the dream, boys.
This would happen around April-ish in 2025. This would mean a total duration of about 16 to 17 months for the season. And can I remind you, Season of Mastery went on for way longer than you probably remember. It was released on
the
16th of November 2021, and it closed on February 14th, 2023. That's some 15 months, and I'm just saying, Season of Discovery already has more going for it than Mastery did. By this timeline, the
Did anyone play Mastery? What was the hook of Mastery? I don't even remember. Was it supposed to be a hard classic WoW? I don't even remember it, but yeah, it's like, okay, Season of Mastery, just start all. Why? No, sounds stupid, no thanks.
Level 60 content will last about 8 months, and the post about 8 months. That doesn't sound too unreasonable, I don't think. So what about our characters? Now that is a tough thing to answer, isn't it? Carting those characters over to Era is just not good.
I'm happy with my character being deleted, I don't care.
Gonna feel great.
Yep, I have no attachments to it. Why? Because I'm not playing a human warrior male because I am weak and pathetic in real life. So, if my fictional character gets deleted, oh no, so be it.
It would be like when we went from Legion to BFA if you played retail then. And what I mean is losing half of your character's abilities ain't fun, and you probably aren't going to stick around for it. I really don't have a great answer for this. Maybe a seasonal Era server where retired characters can go after.
Why aren't we just mentioning the obvious here? The Season of Discovery turns into Classic Plus and there you go.
Afterwards, but then again, what if there's different themes to different seasons? What about different seasons at all though? Season of Discovery has so much riding on its shoulders. I and many others have called this the Classic Plus beta in a way. And if these realms continue to pop off as they currently have, Blizzard aren't going to let that opportunity.
Yeah, because let's be real about one thing, right? Even though Blizzard is incompetent and the World of Warcraft, Diablo, and every dev that works for them is a complete moron, at the end of the day, even they are smart enough to understand that after Season of Discovery, if they want to launch a different season, they can't remove Season of Discovery. They can't remove the runes. They can't remove the raids. People will never accept this. People will never accept the idea that all of that we got in Season of Discovery just goes through the window out, and then a new season with a completely new gimmick starts. This will never work. Plus, they already know that this is definitely not going to work from Diablo 4. Because everyone's pissed at in Diablo 4 that you don't have the caged hearts.
Slip them by, I don't think, or at least hope. My instinct at the moment, and the thing that makes the most sense, is to say that characters will go over to Classic Era, but I don't think even Blizzard knows at the moment. We just need to see how Season of Discovery plays out for a bit longer before we can really get it.
How can they go to Classic Era? Classic Era doesn't have the items from Season of Discovery, it's impossible.
feel on this. But this is still all so far off in the future. Right now we have the
True, Willy Wonka, true. Anyway, that was our boy Will E. Yeah, that's right, boy. Anyway, great video. Season of Discovery, super pumped, super excited. I love it. 10 out of 10. Anyway, this was Quizzer Sid saying thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and you have a nice day. Bye-bye.